Mic check. Hopefully, you guys are having a good Thursday night. Hopefully, you are not too cold. I know the weather is starting to dip down into those near freezing winter temperatures. Once you start getting down into the 30s, it starts to get a little bleak. So hopefully, you're warm where you're at tonight. What I want to talk about is retro dead? Like, is it over for retro? I don't want to say is it dead, but is it over for retro? Um, I think it might be over for reselling retro to a degree, but I've had different opinions. I recently put out a video talking about why I think reselling retro video games going into 2026 is probably a bad idea. And I did get some people who disagreed. So I figured, what, let's have a live discussion about it and just see where we stand with retro gaming. And then I also saw a video out that was put out uh, talking about how GameStop Retro is dead. So, and I don't know if that's true either. So I figured we'd come together and have a quick live discussion and talk about this because on one hand, I don't feel like it's over for retro in terms of building a collection, a curated collection. I think though it has taken a bit of a hit when you look at just the hype and the reselling. What's going on, Charles? How you doing? And yeah, a lot of people disagreed with, not a lot, but a few people disagreed with me. A few people were basically saying how they're seeing different things in their local area, how there's opportunities to resell video games in their local area, how um the market where they're at might not be as bad as other parts of the country. And so it's really just dependent, I think, on where you're at. But I think the majority of people who are very much into the hobby are seeing somewhat of a decline. What's going on, Anthony? Yeah, yeah, that's a big part of the reason why I think a lot of people collect physical. It's the nostalgia, it's the feel for sure. Kelly, what's going on? Yeah, we're talking about, is it over for retro video games? We're really talking about, is it over? And I think it just depends on what side of the fence you land on. I think it really depends on what side of the fence you land on and what you're in it for. If you're in it for building a quality collection of games, to have a library at your disposal for whenever you want to play them. If you're building a collection because you're just a straight up collector and you like to collect items, that's a hobby of yours. It all varies. But I kind of gave my take on the where the market is at, earlier in the day, and I got some varying feedback. So I figured we'd talk about it. Let's see. I Can Watch Man just makes me sad. Sorry I did not have a nice childhood. No, I get it. Believe it or not, what I tend to see, especially when it comes to the Sega Genesis, is that the Sega Genesis found its way into the homes of a lot of underprivileged kids, a lot of kids that were in the hood. Growing up for me, Nintendo felt like the more expensive console. It felt like the more upscale console. And the Genesis just felt a little bit more gritty. And I think it's because the Sega consoles went on sale first, if I'm not mistaken, and they were just typically cheaper. Like it always seemed in the 90s that getting a Sega Genesis was just a lot cheaper and easier than getting a Super Nintendo. So that might be why that feels that way. Charles Hollis says GameStop Retro is very much alive. By the end of this last buy two get one had over 100 quality games from GameStop. Damn, you went crazy. 100 games? Wow. Sheesh. You went crazy on that. Kelly says, I'll always have my physical copy of Final Fantasy VII. Yeah, I mean, so look, we could break it down and start the conversation off of, is GameStop Retro dead? It's hard for me to say that GameStop Retro is dead. What's going on, Keith? It's hard for me to say that GameStop Retro is dead when in the last month I've picked up Sonic 2, Alone in the Dark, WHV, what's going on? Sonic 2, Alone in the Dark, The Ring, Castlevania Chronicles, Vandal Hearts, a stack of retro games over here, including Pokemon Blue, Red, Sunset Riders, Rystar, Metroid, Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Like there's too much retro at GameStop for me to say that GameStop retro is dead, but I do think it's regional. So that's what I want to that's the conversation that I want to have is it regional? Is it regional? Because whenever I make a video talking about if it's dead or if it's alive, you get, diametric views. Keith says, I find retro stuff at GameStop all the time. Good deals too. Yeah, same here. Same here. The month just started and I got a copy of Castlevania Chronicles complete in box from GameStop through the mail. So like, I don't really know if it's dead. Pawn shops, garage sales, everywhere. I see less retro in my area though. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's gonna vary. It's going to vary. Sandbear, do you have Symphony of the Night? Yeah, I got Symphony of the Night this past month from GameStop. I got a complete in box. It came in the mail. Right? So, I mean, we got to talk about it. At least GameStop that's a sweet find. Yeah, thanks. I mean, look, we got to talk about it because whenever anyone makes a video, one person could drop a video one day saying GameStop is dead, there's no retro games there. Another person could easily turn around and say, forget another person, me, myself, I could turn around and make a video and say, in the month of October alone, almost every game that I got was from GameStop, and every retro game that I picked up was complete in box and in great condition. So I think it's really regional. Now the question is, what parts of the country have these games and what parts of the country don't have these games? If you're trying to get into retro, where should you be going? Where should you be looking? Are all the games in Southern California? Are all the games in Texas? Are all the games in New York? Where are all the games that people are talking about? I think that's kind of where people kind of get it twisted. And, it really just depends on consistency as well. If you're a person who's hitting up your local game store, your local mom and pop shop, if you're going to GameStop, if there's a GameStop in the area where you normally do like your grocery shopping and all that stuff makes a difference too, because then you have more opportunities to hit it and you have more opportunities to find some really good deals. But I think that the deals are out there for sure. Word of Pressure says Y3K collector here. Although I'm late. What's going on, man? WHV, how much did you pay for those Castlevanias at GameStop? So this one was 90. Castlevania Chronicles complete in box was 90. This Castlevania, I was actually supposed to return it. So with this Castlevania, they actually charged me for the copy of Castlevania Chronicles and then sent me a complete in box Symphony of the Night. I was going to send it back, but then when I saw that it was complete, I was like, technically it might be close to the price of what a complete in box Symphony of the Night might cost. So I said, I might keep it. So I'm really toying with it right now. Mark Agley says, terrible experience overall with fake games, bad labels. I mean, I really got some bad stuff through online because I had to fly out for business and just went on the online store. So I feel you on that, Mark. I'm not going to lie. Like, it's not always like unicorns, rainbows, and butterflies with them. They've sent me fake stuff. As a matter of fact, check this out. You want to see a fake game? I can show you a fake game right now. I got a fake game sitting right here. So this is a fake game that they sent me that I'm going to have to send back. Can you guys spot the fakeness? Yeah, this is a fake. I know it's probably blurry in the camera right now. You probably can't tell, but this is a fake copy of Aria of Sorrow. And honestly, it happens, right? It happens to me too. And whenever I get these fakes, I'm in a position where I have to take them back to the store and let them know, like, hey, you guys sold me a fake game. And unfortunately, that's the position that I got caught in with this one. So it's not to say that I don't get the fakes. I definitely get the fakes. I get games with bad labels. I've gotten games that are not complete. I get games in the stupid, generic GameStop cases. I mean, I even got one right here. I got this copy of WarioWare for the GameCube. The only reason why I didn't return this was because it was the free game, and the other two games that came in this bundle were complete. I think one was uh Marvel Ultimate Alliance Gold Edition and a complete in box copy of Resident Evil 2 on the GameCube. So I definitely get stuff that's not complete for sure. I mean, they get me all the time with that crap. Um, Let me see here. Keith says, I think it's more about consistency. Lots of people out here hunting games, even non-collectors. Some weeks it'll be nonstop. Some weeks it'll be nothing. Yeah, yeah, consistency. Honestly, that's really what it is, consistency. And you kind of have to find a way to be consistent with it without putting in too much time into it. And the only way that you can do that is like for me, there are Game Stops near where I get like food for my kids, grocery shopping, laundry, dry cleaning. There are games, there's so many games, and that's what I say would be the benefit of living in a big city. Because when you live in a big city where there's multiple Game Stops in that city, then you have more opportunities to obviously attack a GameStop. So I think that's kind of where the opportunity is. But unfortunately, if you're not in that type of scenario, it's going to be a little bit harder to be consistent. Could I get SNES games? You sure? Let me see. Lukey Pookie says, could I get SNES games? You sure can get SNES games. I mean, I don't have them sitting here, but this month I got a bunch of SNES games. I got Mega Man X2, Final Fantasy 2, Saturday Night Slam Masters, Super Metroid. I got a bunch of SNES games. There's a ton. There's a ton on there right now. If you go on their website right now, you'll see a ton of games. Buys or Buy says I found PS2 Futurama at a yard sale for $10. Wow. Now that's see. So let's pause on this comment right here. Buys or Buy says I found PS2 Futurama at a yard sale for $10. Now, like that is an anomaly. And I think too many people look at finds like that and think that they're going to be able to find things like that every weekend. That's an anomaly. You might get a deal like that once a year. And if you try to build your collection off of those types of finds, well, get ready to collect like one game a year or maybe one game every 2 years, because being able to consistently find stuff like that is just extremely difficult and very rare. But shout out to you. Shout out to you. But if someone were to build an entire like YouTube video around that, it would send the wrong message to people who are trying to get into the hobby, because they're gonna think like, oh shoot, you mean there's still copies of Futurama out there for $10? Oh shoot, you mean I can go out there and find, Legend of Zelda, Link to the Past for $2, and they're gonna get disillusioned. And I think that's where a lot of people fall off. Mark Hagley says, in store, I've gotten a few decent games where I was able to actually look at them physically in person. That's the best way. That's really the best way. Because if you're in the store, you can avoid getting sold a fake like this one. So that's definitely the best way. Keith Curry says, yeah, they sell SNES games at GameStop all the time. Yeah, they sure do. Brian Tran 3791 says, they are hard but fun. They sure are. Lukey Pookie says, hell yeah. Brian Tran says, have you beaten Alone in the Dark? I have not. I have not. You think this is a good repro? You think this one is a good? I mean, it is. I guess it's a decent repro. But the problem is that you can't really see how bad of a repro it is through the camera. Like, it doesn't really do a good job. But the first thing that told me that this was fake immediately when I picked it up was how light it was. This is like, these fakes are really light, or a lot lighter than their real counterparts. And it's not because of like the motherboard. I think it's because of the plastic that they use on these fake cards. It's like this 3D printed like fake Game Boy Advance cartridge, so it feels a lot lighter, and it doesn't have that durable texture of an original 3DS cart. Mark Hagley says the return process is a nightmare as well. When you have a promo going on, I have to bring all 3 games back. So let's talk about that too. I think the key with that is that you have to find the right GameStop. and build relationships. There are a number of GameStops around where I'm at, and some of those GameStops have extremely anal and annoying managers. And I just don't go to those GameStops. I just don't, because I know that they're going to give me a hard time. I know that they aren't going to know what they're talking about. I know that they're going to make me jump through hoops just to kind of make an exchange or whatever. So I typically try to find GameStop with a laid back staff, with people who are real chill, people who actually play video games and understand what it means to be a collector, because that means there's less explaining for me to do. They understand what I'm trying to do, they understand what I'm trying to get to, and it just makes for a better experience. The problem is that, when you have these GameStops, because believe it or not, each GameStop store, like the manager can kind of dictate some of like the local rules. Like, yes, they have their corporate policies and stuff like that, but what I've noticed is that each manager can kind of dictate how they do things and stuff like that. And some managers are just more cool than others. And so when it comes to returns, especially when you're dealing with buy two get one free returns, there are some stores that will make you return all three games. There are, but what I've come to realize is that that's because, if they, like for instance, let's say you bought three games, all three games are the same price, and you didn't like one of them, and you go to return it, depending on how that order was processed through, you might wind up returning the free game, and then you don't get any money back. So, in order for them to avoid that, that's why sometimes they ask you for all three games. Now, there are times where you might do like a buy two get one, and you return one game, and one of the games that you return is the one that you were actually charged for. So then it actually becomes a buy one get one free. But that's rare, and that's usually going to happen at a store where they're just not really paying attention. But the point of all that rambling is to say, you gotta figure out which stores work for you, and then build relationships there, because not all stores are the same. Brian Tran says in 5 years the repros are gonna be so good looking. I mean, maybe, I don't know. I don't think they'll ever be able to make a repro. Well, I take that back. Some of these disc-based repros are pretty damn good. Pretty damn good. Like, I've seen some really good fake Sega Saturn games. I've seen some really good fake Dreamcast games, and some really good fake PlayStation 1 games. Those ones are, I think that a lot of people have gotten duped with PS1, Dreamcast, Sega Saturn, and Sega CD. A lot of people have gotten duped with those because those are easy to fake. What's in the Aria of Sorrow fake cartridge? It's a fake motherboard. It's not a genuine Nintendo motherboard. It's just a fake. I mean, it has a chip in there that will play the game. Probably some type of emulation chip, because it's not the real game. But you can feel it when you pick it up. Charles Hollis says, can confirm the return process is a nightmare. If it wasn't for the local manager knowing I'm a regular and being competent, I would have had a bad. Yeah, so Charles knows what's up. Charles knows the deal. See, he found a GameStop where the manager understands what he's doing and knows how to make an otherwise extremely tedious process just a lot more simple for him, because he knows what he's trying to get at. He's trying to collect. And collectors will understand. Like, if someone understands how if you go to a store and they understand that you only collect complete in box games, they're not going to give you a hard time when you bring back disc only stuff. They're going to know, like, all right, this guy, he collects complete in box. I'm not, they're just going to know the deal, and they're not going to put you through the ringer. You're doing a 24-hour stream? Negative, bro. No 24-hour stream here. This stream might go another 10 minutes, and then it might be a wrap for me. No 24-hour streams here. Charles Hollis says most of the workers don't even know how to process online returns because they're new, because of so much turnover. So this is true too. But another thing that I do, especially when a GameStop has new employees, I make sure that the older employees put that new employee on. Like, yo, let them know about me. Let them know what I do here, so that if I come there and you guys aren't here, they know what's up. You know what I mean? And I try to just do that as much as I can, because look, to the guy who found the Futurama for $10 at a yard sale, like I said earlier, that is an anomaly. Like, these days, depending on where you live, GameStop is probably the best place for you to get a real deal outside of a yard sale. But even a yard sale is a long shot. And honestly, spending an entire weekend going yard sale hunting to find, like, let's say you spent an entire weekend, right? Hitting up yard sales. And let's just say conservatively, you valued your time, right? Your time value was $30 an hour, which that's going to range. Some of you might feel like your time is worth $20 an hour. Some of you might feel like your time is worth $75 an hour. But let's just say you felt like your time was worth $30 an hour. And you got up at, I don't know, to beat everyone to the yard sale. Let's just say you got up at, let's just say you hit the road at 7 a.m. and you game hunted from 7 a.m. until 7 p.m. on both Saturday and Sunday. So a full 24 hours of gaming at $30 an hour. What is that? 48, 68, 72, right? 72 times 30. So what? That's $720 in time value for your game hunting. Somebody check me in the chat. Let me know if my math is right. It could be wrong, right? But that's about $720 in time value. So to me, if you value your time at $30 an hour and you spend 24 hours in a weekend game hunting, that's, you would need, in my opinion, you found a deal if you were able to get games that value at a value of, if you were able to find even like $1,000 worth of games for 500, between 200 to between 250 and 500, then you got a deal, because the value that you got for the time you spent far out exceeds what you place on your time value. And now remind you, this is valuing your time at $30 an hour, having spent 24 hours game hunting over a weekend's time. To me, the math there doesn't make sense. It just, because I don't value my time at $30 an hour, I value it at a lot more. And I'm sure a lot of you do too. A lot of you probably are like, $30 an hour. What? Y2K? Hell no. I'm $40, $50 an hour. Who knows what you guys think? But I think you guys get what I'm saying. So who really won? A guy who spent maybe an hour for the entire weekend hitting up maybe 2 or 3 GameStops, buying maybe $300 worth of games and spent maybe $200 for it, but had the rest of his weekend to go and hustle and grind and make more money? Or the dude who spent, I don't know, let's say even if you didn't spend 24 hours, let's just say you spent, I don't know, 15 hours. That's still like a lot of time. The time value there. So I think, like, I'm saying, I'm did all of that to say that, like, if you spend all that time in a weekend hoping to God that you find a Futurama for $10, when you don't, that's time value wasted, bro. And like, you can't get time back. I could always make money. If I spend $200 on video games, I could go make that back real easy. You can't get your time back. Like, you can't. No matter what you think you can, you can't get time back. You only get one life. And like, and while yes, game hunting is fun, it's cool, I love it, you only get one life, bro. If you spend your entire weekend, all your weekends game hunting, you can't do anything else. You're not living. Um, let's see. I built my collection thanks to GameStop sales mostly. I am Keith Courage says, do you think it's inevitable for collectors to have to start reselling if they aren't wealthy to keep the hobby going? I'm so cheap with what I buy unless it makes financial sense. It's the only way I'd... Okay, so you do think it's inevitable for collectors to start reselling if they aren't wealthy to keep the hobby going? To keep the hobby in general going, I don't think so. Maybe a particular niche, maybe a smaller part of the hobby, I think eventually collectors are going to have to sell. Like, there's only so many Turbo Duos out there. There's only so many Wonder Swans out there. There's only so many, I don't know, some of these like really older but still highly sought after consoles. Yeah, eventually somebody's going to have to sell them for other people to get a chance at owning them. But to keep the entire hobby going, nah. I think there's still there's so much stuff to collect out there outside of like Nintendo and stuff. You've got Switch games to collect. You've got so much stuff to collect that I think people are always gonna have something to collect. Um, I do think though, like if you're a collector, like I think that there will come a point probably where I sell a lot of my collection. Yeah, I think that day will come. Is it anytime soon? No. But I think that there will come a point like when I hit a certain age and I decide, you know what, I want to spend the rest of my life sitting on, Maui sipping pina coladas and watching the sunset. I mean, I'm not gonna care about playing Popful Mail at that point in life. Like, you know what I mean? I don't, So there will come a point, but I don't know. I think that varies from person to person. Word of Pressure says, I got Gale of Darkness not for resale, free from a Facebook group. Some mom getting rid of stuff. It happens. Yeah, it happens. That's like, listen, when you get things like that, go play the lotto. You know what I mean? When you have a day like that, go play the lotto because it's pure luck. You just straight up got lucky that day. Charles Hollis says, I got multiple fake games, had to return. I ordered Super Mario Land 3. They sent me one. They sent me the wrong trauma center when I ordered trauma team, etc. Yeah, they've sent me like the wrong Mario Party. Like I remember one time I ordered like Mario Party 2. They sent me the first Mario Party. They gave me a hard time when I told them, what they sent me was wrong. Usually I have no issue returning stuff. Every once in a while I get the jerk who's like, "Oh yeah, you got to call customer service." You know what I do? When they hit me with that you got to call customer service bullshit, I'm like, "Okay, well, let's call them right now." I have them call them right then and there in the store. I'm not gonna let you make me walk out the store and do something that you should be doing. So when they're like, "Oh, you gotta call customer service," I'm like, "All right, well, get them on the phone. You can call them. Let's call them right now, because I didn't come all the way down here to have you give me some bullshit because you don't know what you're doing. Let's call them get them on the phone right now. I don't horse around with that stuff. Um, Let's see. He says Pokemon is a lot more readily available. Futurama is bizarre fine though. Still crazy on the Pokemon, but it's slightly more attainable. So this is the thing. There's a lot of copies of Pokemon floating around out there. There's a lot. Like in the last 2 or 3 years, the market's been flooded with copies of Pokemon Red and Pokemon Blue and Pokemon Yellow, Gold, and Silver and Platinum. There's so many copies of that. And you know what's starting to pop out a lot more? Ruby and Sapphire. Like out of nowhere, now all these copies of Ruby and Sapphire are just hitting the market. Like I'm seeing Ruby and Sapphire everywhere. Like authentic copies. The most rare of that generation to me is still Crystal, Emerald, and Leaf Green. Those are still just like the more rarest ones to find, but all the other Pokemon games, I'm seeing them all over the place. Brian says, true that. Word of Person says, Y2K, do you think the values for older mainline Pokemon games will hold over time? I don't know. Because we haven't really had a remake of any of the original Pokemon games. At least I don't think. Like, I'm surprised they haven't come out with Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow on the Switch. But I don't know. I really don't know. Pokemon is like its own thing. I don't even like classify Pokemon in video games. Pokemon is Pokemon, and I just don't know, man. I can't answer that question for you. I think if you have Pokemon games and you want to sell them now. Get the most money that you can get for them now, because I don't know if they're going to be hotter in the future or colder in the future, and if you need the money, just sell it and get the money now. He says, yeah, my local GameStops call me up when they don't want to take games. Make friends with the local stores. Same with Exchange. Yeah, make friends, man. That's networking. Networking goes a long way. I got Monster in my pocket and Mutant Virus that way at a GameStop. A whole collection of NES they couldn't take and didn't want to mess with. Yeah, no, I've seen that. Sticks of Truth, you seen fake black PlayStation 1 discs? No, I've seen fake PlayStation 1 cover art and manuals. I've seen a ton of that. A lot of fake PlayStation 1 cover art and manuals. I have seen fake Dreamcast discs. A lot of those. I got a fake copy of Ill Bleed. I got a fake copy of KO the Kangaroo. I've gotten fake copies of like what's that game again? Sheesh. It has Charlie and Mega Man, and it's kind of like a twin stick shooter, but it's not coming to me right now. But yeah, I've got plenty of I've gotten fake copies of Astal, fake copies of geez, Die Hard Arcade, a lot of fake discs. No PlayStation. I haven't gotten any fake PlayStation 1 black discs, but a lot of fake cover art and manuals, and a lot of that stuff feels very authentic. Jesse Glyden says, "Yo, this is the first time I found a live stream from Y2K. What's going on, man? How you doing? Happy Thursday." Yeah, for sure, man. Friday's right around the corner. Hopefully, you guys have some really cool stuff planned. Retro Show says, "Nah, I don't believe in that. I'm not sure what you're talking about. I'm probably reading that so late." Welcome everyone. I am the unofficial greeter. And the cost of gas. Yeah, gas is crazy. Game hunting should be a fun activity and a hobby. I think so too. I think so too. Like I said, I think if you're game hunting for the fun of it, if you get enjoyment out of game hunting, then there's nothing wrong with how much time you spend on it. I mean, obviously, like everything in life, you want to do it in moderation. If you've got other responsibilities, you don't want to spend all of your days and nights game hunting. But I think that if you are game hunting because you think you can get a better value, like for instance, if you're the type of person who would walk by, I don't know, who would walk by like a $30 Super Nintendo game in GameStop because you think you can go find it at a yard sale for $5, and you spend an entire weekend game hunting for that game just to save $25, to me that math is dumb. Just spend the $30 and like move on in life. You'll probably make way more money with the rest of your time. You know what I mean? It just depends on how you're approaching the hobby, what you're trying to do. You know what I mean? And what you're looking to get out of game hunting. You know, that's how I look at it. CD Rama FPV says nobody actually spends 7 hours doing that though, right? If it's the main source of income, maybe you'd be shocked, man. You'd be shocked. There's a lot of people doing that. Listen, you've got plenty of YouTubers who get up in the morning, drive around all day, all weekend, all week. That's all they do. Now that for some that might be their job, that might be what they do, and I'm not knocking that if that's what you do. Because if that's your job, then okay, then it makes sense. But if you're just doing it because your hope is to save money on game hunting, to me it's not a save after a certain point. You're not saving after a certain point. There is value to time is the point that I'm making. People think time is free because it's not costing you dollars, actual dollars and cents. People think time is free. Like I can spend all the time in the world and it's not costing me anything. No, time is costing you. There is it costs you what you could have made had you spent that time doing something else to make money. That's my point. And if you had an entire weekend, and let's say, I don't know, man, let's say you could have spent 5 hours on Saturday and 5 hours on Sunday driving Uber or doing Uber Eats. And if you spent 10 hours between Saturday and Sunday, you could have made an extra $500. It makes more sense to go do that, make the extra $500 so that you have the $100 to spend on whatever game it is you want, as opposed to saying, nah, I'm gonna game hunt for 15 hours this weekend, hoping to find this expensive game for $10. That's what I'm saying. It just depends. Shauna Rain says everyone and they mom are reseller flipper, especially in down economy. What up? What's going on? Yeah, I mean, listen, I saw a report today that people are going to pawn shops in droves. Like people are starting to pawn everything, like guitars, pianos, video game sneakers, and I'll be honest with you, even in my local Facebook Marketplace, I'm seeing everything on Facebook Marketplace. I'm seeing Yeezys. I'm seeing like one of a kind Yeezys. I'm seeing rare Air Jordan 1s. I'm seeing Margielas. I'm seeing Gucci bags. I'm seeing you know, record players. I'm seeing custom cars. People are selling their custom cars, and I'm seeing some dope cars too. Like I saw a clean Acura NSX the other day. I saw a Supra the other day. I saw a vintage Land Cruiser the other day. I mean, people are selling their vintage cars. Like a lot of like dudes who got those rice burners. Like I saw a clean MR2. Woo, I'm seeing some really nice rice burners out there. Like people are selling stuff like left and right. Like it's crazy right now. Let me see. Retro says no one spends all that time hunting and no one is looking for one specific game. I don't know, man. I'm telling you, you'd be shocked. You would be shocked. There's a lot of people out there spending more time than you think. Because I get it. Those who don't have money spend time. Those who don't have time spend money. I get it. I get it. Everyone in I think I already read that. I love the time comparison. Wait, what do you say? CD-ROM. It says I love the time comparison though because it's very true. Time is worth so much more. It is, man. What's going on, Sunset Liquid? How you doing, man? Brian Tran, and it takes time from playing and working out. Agreed, right? Agreed. It's taking you. It's taken away from anything else you could be productive in. He says, I bypass the sales, talk to local stores that take in inventory that needs consoles repaired and get the pick of things. I want to help them fix inventory. That's nice, man. That's nice. That's a very thoughtful deed for sure. CD Rama says it helps the cycle. It's okay to resell your doubles if you're mainly collecting. Resellers typically just sell anything they can, including video games. If I get a double, I'm going to use it as trade bait because there are some grails that I want to get. I still want to get a copy of Hagane, a real one, not a fake one like the one I have. I want to get a copy of Super Turrican 2. I want to get a copy of KO Flying Squadron. Those are like some of the games that I have on my wish list. I don't know why video games get a bad rap. Every hobby does. Hobby reselling, Pokemon cards, Legos. I don't know. I think it's because you have a lot of purists out there who think that video games should just be played and that's it. They're not, don't collect them, don't trade them, just play them. Brian Chan says, and Asia has so many repros, it's crazy. If you retire in Asia, just choose Squirtle. That's funny. Sean Rain says, I'm saving up for a super arcade cabinet like the one YouTuber D Thomas NC has. Them are dope. I need it. And Pokemon cards for me, not video games. Yeah, I mean, listen, different strokes for different folks. Oh, Cannon Spike. That was the game. I couldn't think of it. Yes. Thank you, Retro Show. Cannon Spike. I could not think of that game for some reason. I don't know why. The reason Y2K we see in Pokemon everything games is because a lot are fake bootleg stuff. There are a lot of fakes out there. I'll be honest, there are a lot of fakes out there. There are definitely a lot of bootleg games. XE Miko 79 says, well, fun fact, there were some PS1 games that have normal bottoms. They look like conventional CDs. They're very late releases, and I have a few from Square Enix. This is true. Word of Prussia, I was even duped. I thought my leaf green was real for about a year until it looked more glossy. Dang, that sucks. Robert Tolan says, hey, what's going on? Easy Gamers in the building. What's going on, Easy Gamers? Time value money, yeah. Retro Show. Easy Gamers, what up? G. And Goodwill has a lock on a video game Crash Economy for Y2K. I'm seeing comics on Facebook Market. Ivan, what's going on? Sandbear 1081 Y2K. What is your stance on game preservation and emulation? I'm going to answer that in 1 second. It's getting to the point that it's cheaper to buy into the Mr. FPGA system than hunting for buying games and consoles. Okay. So what is my stance on game preservation and emulation? I think preserving the old school physical stuff is needed. I mean, someone said it in the comments earlier. There's nothing like grabbing an old school Sega Genesis case, cracking it open, you know what I'm saying? Seeing that manual, that old school manual, knowing that somewhere back in 1991, 92, somebody was going to town on this in their Sega Genesis, and it hits even harder if that was you. If you grew up in the 90s, if you grew up in the 80s, um, it hits different when you hold one of these because nostalgia is a real thing. It's a genuine feeling, it's a genuine emotion. It's as real as love, it's as real as hate, it's as real as envy, it's as real as any other feeling that you could have. So, for when people try to downplay nostalgia, that's like downplaying any other emotion that's valid out there. You know what I'm saying? And believe it or not, nostalgia causes people to do a lot of things. Nostalgia causes people to cheat on their husbands. It causes people to cheat on their wives. It causes people to have midlife crises. What do you think? What do you think a midlife crisis stems from? It stems from nostalgia. It stems from you wanting to have that feeling that you had back when you were a kid. That's why midlife crises happen. So to me, the nostalgia factor of preserving physical video games is huge. I don't think it can be understated at all. Now, as far as emulation, I think it's necessary as well. I think there's a level of convenience that comes with emulation, and that's probably the biggest piece of emulation, the convenience. You don't have to worry about the space. You don't have to worry about the storage. You don't have to worry about the cost of acquisition. You don't have to worry about any of those things. You can just buy any type of emulation device you want for $50 and go to town on playing video games. But the question of game preservation versus emulation is really a conversation of video game playing versus video game collecting, and they're not the same. A lot of people feel like collectors should be gamers and gamers should be collectors, and those are two very different hobbies. You can have a person who collects video games all day but doesn't really play them at all. You know what I mean? And you can have people who play video games all day and don't collect nothing. You could have that too, but they're not the same hobby. And I think the mistake that people make is they look at them as they're the same. So if you see a guy in a room and he has a bunch of games, when you find out that he's not when not you, but when some people find out that that person isn't playing those games, they're in an uproar because it's like, how dare you have a wall full of games and not play them? Well, the guy never came on and said he was a gamer. He probably came on and said he was a collector. So why would you hold him to any type of gaming standard? Doesn't make any sense. So I think that's kind of how I look at the preservation versus emulation thing. Emulation caters to people who prioritize playing video games first. They prioritize playing games and having a great gameplay experience first before collecting. Preservation is for people who collect first and maybe they game later. Maybe they're not as focused on video game collecting as they are video game playing because it doesn't take as much time to buy Vandal Hearts as it does to beat Vandal Hearts, right? Like with a swipe, I can have Vandal Hearts in my house in a week. To actually beat it, now I got to sit down, go through, play the game. And if you don't have that kind of time, especially as an adult, it's just not going to happen. So those are my thoughts. Emulation versus preservation is, in my opinion, the idea of game playing versus game collecting. The idea of finding a girl for $10 is long gone. That was 2011. Yeah, I mean, that was a long time ago. That's what Ralph says. Ivan says, I'm going to sell my amiibo collection this weekend. Some boxes, yo. Yeah, I never mess with the amiibos, bro. I never mess with those. I was never even tempted. I maybe attempted once when Metroid Dread came out. I think I wanted like a Metroid amiibo for like a split second, but I never got into amiibos. Just never did. Love me some emulation. Retro says, love me some emulation. Working on putting a Mista FPGA into a Nintendo Switch kiosk right now. Damn. Sounds like a project and a half. Good luck to you, sir. NES Wizard. What up, Y2K? What's going on? Sean Rain. I love my Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis. This is my Grails N64 and PS2 right there, too. Yeah, man. A great era. That's me. My ADHD gives me the dopamine thrill buying it, but I don't feel the need to play and complete it. Disciple 1985 says, I was at GameStop the other day. Behind in line was a guy trading in. They had offered him $30 for Pokemon Heart Gold and White 2. Dang, that's crazy. GameStop fleeced that dude. I love emulating on OG hardware. Freaking GDMU and a Dreamcast is amazing. Yeah, there's so many ways you could do it, man. There's so many ways you could do it. But look, guys, it's 45 minutes. The time flies when I'm talking to y'all. Happens every time. I'm always like, I'm only going to be around 20 minutes, and now we're 45 minutes deep. Listen, I appreciate you guys joining tonight's live. I enjoyed having the discussion. I feel like we only had one half of the discussion, but it was a good discussion. Hopefully I got to your chat. If I did not get to your chat, I will catch you in the next one. It's the Y2K Collector. You guys have a great rest of your evening. Take it easy.